Hey guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Amit and this is the new Royal Enfield Hunter 350. We are in the beautiful city of Bangkok in Thailand and at the W Hotel, which is right in the middle of the city, the CBD area, the central business district where you have all the business happening in the urban scape. Royal Enfield have organized the ride for the Hunter 350, which is essentially a motorcycle which is primarily meant for the urban scape, and this essentially is a roadster. And as you would have seen, there are quite a few classic motorcycles and adventure motorcycles in Royal Enfield's lineup, but this is going to draw audiences from other brands, people who want a very city friendly kind of a motorcycle. So the big changes here are the chassis and the weight, the accessibility, the lightness. It doesn't look as big or as intimidating as say the Meteor or the Classic. It looks more compact. It's a roadster. But let's talk about the similarities first. And if you think that it's essentially the same setup, you would probably be wrong, because the engine is the same, the engine block is the same, so the power output and the torque output here is also the same, and the numbers here are the same. It's 20.2 PS at 6100 rpm and 27 newton meters at 4000 rpm, but this engine has been tuned now. This engine's fueling and the injection and the timing has been, valve timing has also been changed a little bit, and thanks to all of that, this should be slightly more intent. As we saw, there was a difference between the way the Meteor and the Classic 350 revved. The Meteor was more intent while the Classic 350 felt more relaxed. So according to Royal Enfield, this should be the most intent, the most rev happy and the most responsive motorcycle of the three, although the difference will not be very huge, but of the three, this should be the most sprightly. So that's one change that you need to know about. Of course, this is an all black engine, so visually it also looks a little different. But the other big change is with this entire area, the front suspension area, because the rake on this angle is this bike has a sharper angle, so it has a sharper steering, and resultantly it's more agile, it's more sporty. It should be easily flickable within the city, should do corner carving slightly better. I'm not sure because I've not ridden this motorcycle yet. We are going to be riding this motorcycle in the evening, in the night in fact, and I'll be able to let you know my opinions only tomorrow. But the rake angle here is definitely sharper, and not just that, the suspension here is also completely retuned. It's completely not just retuned, but also the componentry is very different from what you have seen in the other motorcycles, that is the Meteor and the Classic. It's a 41 dia unit, and from what Royal Enfield tells us, it's slightly on the stiffer side as compared to the other two, and its travel here on the front is 130 at the rear it's 102, which is the same as the Classic. However, the componentry here is completely different to enable a different experience for the rider. Another big change is on the chassis, where while the front part, if you divide the chassis in half, the front part is essentially the same, but at the rear the chassis has been changed somewhat to give the motorcycle its unique character. So that again is a change. And apart from that, most of the other things are like shared with the Classic and the Meteor. So for example, the brakes are the same, 300 mm up front and 270 mm at the rear. Front is a 2-pot caliper, rear as a single pot caliper, and it has a dual channel ABS. Now if you look at this motorcycle, it has alloys. You also have another variant which will have spokes. So this one is called the Metro variant, and the one with the spokes will be called the Retro variant, and there will be some differences. I'm going to let you know all the differences between the two very soon, but bear that in mind. The color schemes and everything else on the two is also different. Now the wheel sizes, remember, the wheel sizes are different as compared to the other motorcycles. So if you remember, the Metro has 19-inch front. The Meteor has a 19-inch front and a 17 rear. Similarly, the Classic also has a bigger front wheel and an 18-incher at the rear. This one has 17. So in that sense, this motorcycle is again different. The wheels here are different, and the wheels are wider. So while at the rear you have a 140 mm C8 Zoom XL tire, the wheel itself is wider than the Meteor. So the Meteor also has a 140 mm tire, but the wheel size here is wider, which means that the contact patch is wider. So you can assume that the road holding here should be better. The tires are also specific to this motorcycle, and from what I understand from Royal Enfield, these tires should be grippier, so should be better to perform as well. So in that sense, the tires and wheels on this motorcycle are on the sportier side. Apart from that, the exhaust here is stubbier, as you can see, and of course it has led to some weight savings, in addition to the fact that the fender here is not metal like the Classic. So if you look at the curb weight here, is 181 kg for the Metro variant, and for the Retro variant it's 178 kgs, and it's a difference of a massive 14 kgs as compared to the Classic curb weight. So that's a huge difference, and that obviously should also reflect in its performance difference as compared to the other motorcycles, because this is lighter and the engine here is also tuned for a more sprightly performance. So all of that should add up to a revier experience. Now in terms of top speed, this motorcycle's top speed has been stated as 114 kilometers per hour official. So on the speedo it should be 120 plus, but officially the 114 kilometers per hour speed is the true speed. The exhaust here, we cannot turn the exhaust. I cannot really make you hear the exhaust because it doesn't have the key, but we have put a reel on our Instagram account and you can hear the bike's exhaust, because Sid Lal has already turned the bike on and the exhaust can be heard there, and it doesn't miss the Royal Enfield beat. I can tell you that it has the signature beat, although it's vocally very different. The tonality is different. The ground clearance here is lower than the Classic. The Classic has 170 mm. This one has 150.5 mm of ground clearance. It doesn't look too low to me. On paper that may look low, but I can really assure you that visually it doesn't look low at all. Now let's have a look at the headlight here, which by the way doesn't have any LED components, and we asked Royal Enfield as to why such is the case, and they said that there is a debate going on about the efficacy of LED white lights in wet roads, and I personally believe that this motorcycle also has a positioning which probably would be the lowest of the trio, although the pricing has not been announced, but I really believe that that also was a constant. So the headlight here is a halogen, typical Classic round headlight with bulb blinkers, and the only LED element that you see on the lighting here is this LED unit. You have these two bulbs again, so only the tail light is an LED. The swing arm is the same as the other two motorcycles. The wheelbase here is the shortest of the three, and the Meteor has the longest wheelbase and this one has the shortest wheelbase of the three. Now let's have a look at the instrument console also, and first and foremost the tripper that you see here, we have seen it before as well, and this is an accessory, this is not a standard fitment. And the instrument console also has been lifted from the other two motorcycles, and you have all the information here, including the gear indicator and speedo and whatnot. You have all the basic information, although the fuel related information, which is the distance to empty and the average fuel efficiency, is not provided. The switch gear also we have seen before. As you can see here, you have the high, low beam and pass, turn indicators, the horn, the engine kill switch and ignition integrated, and the hazard switch. You will also get a USB socket, but it's not fitted here, but you will get it on the motorcycle. Now the mirrors could probably have been slightly wider to my liking, but there will be a lot of accessories which you can put on this motorcycle, and you can increase the width of the mirrors as well. The clutch action here is expected to be light, and this motorcycle is supposed to be comfortable to ride in city, but obviously I have not ridden it, so I cannot comment on that yet. In terms of differentiation with the retro model, there are quite a few differences. As I mentioned, the first thing is that this one has this set of alloy wheels, and the other one will have spokes, but the retro will have a narrower tire. It will have a 120 section tire. It will not have the dual channel ABS. In fact, it will not even have the disc brakes that you see at the rear. It will have a drum brake, so it will basically be a single channel ABS. The instrument console also on the retro will not be digital. It will be an analog instrument console, so that again would be a difference. And the seat styling also would be retro on the retro one. I cannot show you, unfortunately, because that model is not available here. And unlike the grab rails that you see here, these are, by the way, plastic units and look more modern. On the retro, you'll have a tubular, basically a steel tubed grab rail, and the tail lamp will also be a bulb type on the retro. So the metro has more features, it has more tech, and in that sense this is the higher spec variant as well. Now let's talk about the seating position on this motorcycle. I'll sit on the motorcycle and give you some insights onto what you should expect from the riding position. Now first things first, this tank here is quite slim, so there are multiple advantages of this. The first is, because of the narrower tank, it should be easier for even the shorter heighted people to get on board. Also, since it tapers at the end, the shorter people can put their feet down with ease. My height is 5 feet 10 inches, and as you can see right now, I can put my heels down into the ground with a bend in my knees. So this motorcycle, even for the shorter people, should probably not be very difficult to ride. The tank here has this recess, and if you look at my foot right now and the position of my hands, you'd see that this is the most rear set position. This is the most rear set position of the three motorcycles having the J series engine, which means that this basically has the sportiest stance, well, relatively speaking. So while the Metro has a feet forward kind of riding position and it has that cruiser kind of a stance, the Classic is more neutral with slightly rear set foot pegs, but still a slightly upright handlebar. But this one has a flat handlebar, so some part of your weight also falls onto the handlebar. The foot pegs are rear set, so for a person like me who likes an even distribution of weight on the motorcycle, this motorcycle should come across as comfortable. For someone who wants a more neutral stance, I don't know yet because I'll have to ride the motorcycle, but it should basically allow for better weight distributions, theoretically speaking. The tank capacity here is 13 liters, and if you look at the seat, it's not the longest, but again, this is a roadster, and in terms of the seat length, this is shorter than the other two motorcycles in the segment. Now, about the performance and the fuel efficiency and everything else, I cannot comment just now because I don't really have any figures, nor am I allowed to share my opinions. But looking at how the engine has been tuned and looking at specifically the weight savings, I have a hunch that probably this should have better fuel efficiency. I cannot comment, but I'll let you know once I ride the motorcycle. And in terms of the colors, this one, the Metro variant, will have 6 colorways, and these 6 colorways are blue, red, grey, silver, black and white. Now the Retro will have only 2 colors, black and white. Also, within the colorways on the Metros, what you see here is a different color scheme. So on the Metro also, if I talk blue, that doesn't really mean that all the other colors are going to be the same. So for example, if you see that motorcycle there, the color scheme itself on that motorcycle is different. So that's a grey, but if you go to see, the color scheme itself is different, as you can see. So not just the color ways, as in the color itself is going to be different. Of the 6 colors that I've told you, the color schemes and the design itself is going to be different, so you have a lot of choice. I've told you the difference between the two motorcycles, and I will be riding it tonight, and tomorrow during the day we are going to be doing a detailed review, as you would expect from Motoroids. There are a lot of accessories that you can also buy, and we have done a separate video on all the available accessories, so that is also there. And that's that, guys. That's essentially what you need to know about this motorcycle. A more city friendly kind of a motorcycle in concept, but how well does it ride, whether it stays true to what Royal Enfield is promising in terms of what it has to offer, we'll be able to see only after we ride this motorcycle today. I really hope that I was able to answer most of your questions, as you expect us to cover a lot of topics while we do our first walk around. But still, if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I'll be very happy to answer all your questions, and we'll be coming up with some more content around this motorcycle, of course with a very detailed review very soon. Until next time then, this is Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and drive safe.